Welcome, wrestling fans, to another episode of Friday Evening's Undercard. Long-awaited episode. How you doing, Eric?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Been a while since we did this. You were just talking about the last time we tried to get this together. Somebody was out digging in the dirt and cut your internet lines and
Yeah,
all
I
that.
I don't have the smartest neighbors in the world. I'll just say that.
Yeah, well,
So
you know.
it's kind of like that. What was it? The "In Your House, Beware of Dog" when like lightning struck the place.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
everything just cut out.
Yeah, So yeah, that
But
was
but
our
of
edition of
course,
"Beware of Dog in Your House."
of
So
course, because it's Vince, he just kept them out there.
oh yeah, of
And the
course.
wrestlers just wrestling in the dark.
I think it was
Wouldn't
what
want to
I
have
think it
to
was.
refund any of those tickets.
Yeah, I think it wasn't it Austin and Savio Vega in a strap match when that was going on. I think.
I don't remember. But speaking of Austin and Savio Vega,
Yeah, it's a
that's
segue into it. So
absolutely. Um, well, just real quick, since we're releasing this one today, I'm gonna spring this one on you. We didn't talk about this beforehand. Pat Patterson.
yeah,
Yeah, that was actually if we would have recorded last Friday, it would have actually been I think the day it happened.
yeah, yeah.
Or the day we found out. And yeah, um, that that's an interesting one for me and you because we really never knew Pat
No.
Patterson on screen except for him and uh, Gerald Briscoe.
Yeah, he was a stooge,
Yeah, he was just a knucklehead. Um, and yeah, that's really all we really have to remember Pat. I mean, obviously there's the Royal Rumble, which is probably his longest, biggest
Mhm.
legacy for the wrestling business.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've read, by all accounts, a great hand in the ring, incredibly talented, one of the best minds in wrestling history. So, and most folks, by all accounts, a very beloved figure. I think he's kind of one of those cornerstone guys that you don't replace him. So,
No, you don't, and you got to wonder where um, WWE would be today
oh yeah,
if Pat wasn't
yeah.
around.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys, with as much backbiting and just nastiness you see in the pro wrestling business, you don't really see a ton of negative stuff about Pat Patterson.
No, you
Uh,
don't.
and I think so that says something. And also the fact the the longevity he had working for Vince.
Hmm.
That says a lot. I mean, you got some people that have periods off and on, but you know, he was he was certainly the architect of a lot of things that, we grew up watching.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Um, Agented the match with Bret Hart, and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one of the things I think that came out was that most people are pretty sure he did not know what was
Yeah.
about to take place.
Well, I guess by all accounts, it's I guess Cornette that booked it. At least Cornette says he booked the screw job. So
Yeah, and you know, you, at this point, you have to wonder how much
yeah,
truth anybody's telling because I mean,
yeah,
I don't think we've the one point of view that obviously would be the one to hear that I don't think we ever will is Vince.
yeah.
That would be the one. I mean, at this point, I don't think we're ever going to get just a full, you know, um, he's not going to sit down with anybody and just tell tales like Ron Fuller does.
I think if anything, the screw job, it's a work that has become the greatest shoot in pro wrestling history. I mean, I think it's
Well, it
morphed
was
into
obviously
so
a
many
work. They
different.
just weren't all in on
Yeah, I mean, I think
it.
it's part work. I think it's part shoot. I mean, I think Hart certainly didn't know what was about to happen.
No.
Michaels has been on both sides of the fence on it. But yeah, but then again, you can argue it's what started maybe the greatest heel in pro wrestling history.
Yes.
So, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, how much money did Vince make for one way or the other, whether it's a work or a shoot? Screwing Bret Hart was best for business for the World Wrestling
For
Federation.
yeah, I mean, 23 years, they're still making money off that.
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt. So
Um, so anyway, speaking of events, back March 11th, 1996,
yeah,
Raw. That's what we are here to fully discuss tonight. Vince McMahon on commentary.
yeah, and kind of segueing into Pat Patterson. The funny thing is, when I did my research for this show, um, the dark matches were more impressive to me than the show itself. Some of the matches that you saw going on, one of which was Skip of the Body Donnas wrestling Dwayne Johnson.
That would
Um,
be interesting to see.
one of the guy, supposedly the guy that really gave the thumbs up on The Rock was Pat Patterson, who basically after seeing him for like 5 minutes is like, we got to sign this guy. So
Can't blame him for that.
yeah, I mean, talk about, maybe the hugest crossover star in pro wrestling history, and certainly an
Mm, oh,
icon of,
absolutely. Have-
so
Do you follow Cornette on Twitter?
I do. Yeah.
Did you see the video that he posted with The Rock? Maybe 2 weeks ago, where The Rock just turned around and looked at him, and he goes jumping and throws the tennis racket in the air
Yeah.
and everything. Did you see his comment?
Yeah.
He's like, man, yeah. He's like, yeah, I took a big bump for him. If I'd have known he was going to be the biggest star in the world, I'd have juiced myself on the way down. It's like, yeah, you got a point there.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's, going back to Pat Patterson, you're looking at a guy who not only had a great mind for the business, but also a great eye for talent.
Oh,
And
for
I mean,
sure.
you can argue The Rock between in ring and on the mic, he's about as close as you get. In baseball, they call him a 5-tool player. You can do everything.
Yes.
The Rock is, a wrestling equivalent of a 5-tool player.
Yeah, he is one of the few.
Yeah.
One of the few. Absolutely elite. Well, so the intro to this episode, we get a big package about who is the Ultimate Warrior going to face at WrestleMania, and that match was sure to become a classic. And oddly enough, we didn't find out who it was going to be in this episode.
Yeah.
They teased that right at the banner at the beginning of the show, and then you never find out anything.
Well, that's this is a weird period for the business. I mean, you've got basically Nitro's going to be coming in. Vince is still in this weird spot of, are we going to be early 90s, late 80s still? We're going to be moving into a new era. I mean, you've got the Ultimate Warrior and Steve Austin on the same show. You've got Gold Dust. You've got, it's a weird, 96 is a very weird period for the business. Because it's like right before it's about to get huge. I mean, you think what's going to happen in 97, 98. So, hey, 1 second. My animals are going nuts here. Let me go.
I can hear that.
They're arguing over food.
Mass hysteria. Dogs and cats living together.
I know. Well, the cats start fighting, then Harper's got to chime in. Then it's all like, all right, all of you shut up. So
they just start going at it. We're lucky we only have one cat.
Now that helps.
Who I think happens to be outside right now.
Nice.
I don't think we let her back in yet. We will. So anyway, they're in San Antonio, Texas, with Vince McMahon on commentary. And I have to say, this 1996 period has to be the most outlandish, cartoonish that Vince ever got on commentary.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think
he was way too up all the time.
Well, I think what he's trying to do is create the excitement to sell these guys. It's not just like you have Hogan go pose. So he almost have to create the aura around them, and it's kind of weird. Like for us, we grew up with Vince on commentary.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat going back listening to that, because there's, I think, an entire generation of fans that never remember Vince on commentary unless they watch something on the network.
Yeah.
Vince was always
absolutely. He's been the owner, the acknowledged owner.
Yeah. Yeah. So, very rarely do we ever know most of my childhood, I thought Vince was just a goofy announcer.
Yes, a very hyped up, what a
Yeah.
maneuver!
Yeah. I mean, no idea that he was, of course, running the
He
biggest
was
promotion in
running
the
the show.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have a note in this first match. We do get a devastating maneuver call
Very, very
from
nice.
Vince McMahon. So the first match, Savio Vega against Steve Austin,
The ringmaster.
the ringmaster Steve Austin, and they start calling him Stone Cold during this match.
Yes.
That was an interesting pickup. I don't know why they started calling him that.
Yeah. I mean, and we all know the famous story that, supposedly his wife at the time was from England. And as he's
Right.
searching for his character, drink your tea before it becomes stone cold. And he's like, there you go.
Yeah.
And I mean, and once again, Austin is the ringmaster. You would not have thought this in 2 years. This guy is going to be the biggest red hot figure in pro wrestling history.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely. At this exact point in time in 2 years, I mean, he's it. He is
yeah,
top of the
we
line.
still debate today who was more over, Hogan or Austin at their peak. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you look at this, it's really kind of a continuation of what he was doing in WCW, just slightly repackaged. A good upper mid card guy, a guy that can get guys over, great in the ring, but nothing that you would think would be the guy that's ultimately going to be Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling.
Yeah, and, that's the weird thing with Austin compared to Hogan. Hogan had been a main event star, not what he, was in
Right.
86, 87, but he had been a main event star for 7, 8, 9 years
Yeah.
before they brought him in. I mean, you can go back. He was main event in St. Louis in the
Mhm.
70s against Harley
Yeah.
Race.
Yeah. AWA
Um,
days too,
yeah, I mean, he was the main event, back then. 82 was when he made Rocky.
Mhm.
They didn't pick him because he was some jobber. He was already a pretty well known main event level star when he was in Rocky.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting with Austin, a guy who nobody has ever accused Austin of being bad on the mic. They gave him a manager. I mean, they gave him Ted DiBiase to be
Yeah.
the mouthpiece. Basically, he's just this, he doesn't really say anything. And it's kind of like, man, they almost missed the boat on this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
this is a couple things go a little differently. We could just be talking about Austin as one of those, great hands that never got a shot, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, and so had it not been, had Austin come into WWF, if this was 92, 93, he would have never been a top guy. It just so happened he's coming in as the business is changing, where Vince is willing to let some of these guys ultimately do this.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to imagine if, he's not the TV champion in WCW, he's your Intercontinental champion in 92, 93.
Yeah.
Feuding with Bret Hart, feuding with British Bulldog, people like that. But, not a guy that we're ultimately going to see carrying the strap, or at least
Well, and that's an interesting thing, and this is something you can look into the future a few years for too. Um, this is the period where they lose Hogan,
Mhm.
they lose Macho, they Hall, Nash.
Yeah.
I mean, those are four big time main eventers. I mean, yes, Hogan and Savage were a little bit older, but they were still main event draws. And then they lose Bret Hart. I think if it wasn't for that chain of events, I don't know if you would have seen what you did out of Austin.
No, and I think also it's what WCW was doing, being a little more in your face with their programming, that caused Vince to go even further.
Yeah,
Vince is like, "You want to be in your face? I'm going to be even more." And
right.
and also, that, I don't know if Austin's character could have worked in the early '90s as Stone Cold. He would have been a heel. He would have never have been a face. I don't think you would have never
Well, I
had.
mean, he started off as a
Right.
heel. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the Austin 316 promo is a heel promo.
Oh yeah,
There's no
absolutely.
way to say that it's not.
But, the fact is he would have never have been, he would have been a guy like that, would have been one of your top heels, feuding with Hogan, feuding with Warrior, feuding with Macho Man. he would have never, and also I don't know if the audience would have allowed that turn to happen. It kind of happens organically where they just love this guy. And I mean, they talk about the night after the 316 promo, the whole place is filled with signs,
Yeah.
and the rest is history.
And let's be honest here, without Montreal, I don't know that Austin would have gone where he did either.
No, he needed Austin being kind of the ultimate blue collar,
Yeah.
every man needed somebody like Vince McMahon, just this diabolical millionaire who's trying to ruin your life.
Yeah, and
The
that's
boss we all hate. And
right. And that's what made his thing succeed, was that he did have Vince there.
yeah. And I'll say this to this day, the most effective and best heel in pro wrestling history is Vince McMahon.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's, and also how long he was as a top heel.
Yep.
You know, and it's kind of interesting that from a lot of things I've read and heard, Vince really did not want to be in that kind of role. He was trying to maybe take a step back and just run the business. And here's, you know, it's so funny how a couple things change one way or the other. Wrestling history is completely different.
Yep.
And I wonder too, if Austin doesn't emerge, you know, does WWF survive? You know, now WCW did a lot of stupid stuff, you know, but there was a period there where they were on the ropes, but they had Austin. And
Yeah.
because Austin was kind of that bridge between Bret Hart, Austin, then you get The Rock, Michaels is gone. Then, you know, he kind of was an important guy. And I mean, also Taker. We can't forget about him in his time just being that stalwart for them.
Yep.
But yeah, as I say, wrestling history could be completely different if
For
a couple things
sure.
were a little differently.
For
So,
sure. So with the match, Austin does not get an entrance. Now that is something that would be unheard of in,
oh yeah,
I mean, even probably 6 months.
yeah,
There's no way you would have Austin come out without an entrance. And Savio Vega is the one that does get the entrance. So I mean, you really see sort of who is being viewed as the bigger attraction here. Because your
yeah.
main event guys are not just going to be in the ring cold to open your show.
Well, and you think about this, you know, they were really pushing Savio Vega there for a while. I mean, a friend of Razor Ramon, you know, he was getting a decent push. And I mean, if you would have told somebody that on this show, Vega is being portrayed as the bigger star than Austin, the casual fan would look at you like, are you doing crack? Like, are you, you know, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, the person who wasn't watching
Yeah.
back then. Yeah.
And so, you know, I think it's it's just a really odd situation. Also, you know, we do have, for wrestling history, we do have Mark Henry making a debut here.
He is.
You know, coming
Steve
to the
Austin
ring.
was still wearing the white boots. That looked
Yes.
really odd because he got so iconic with the black boots.
Mm-hmm.
That actually brings something else to mind. There was somebody posted on one of the sort of independent wrestling groups, and something like some indie guy X wrestled some tournament and he wore 4 different sets of trunks and 4 different kick pads in a night, and they're all bedazzled up or whatever. And I was like, if you think that matters,
Mm-hmm.
go back and look.
Mm-hmm.
Go, any true main event level star that there's ever been, Rock,
Mm-hmm.
black trunks. Yes, he had the bull
Yeah.
on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Black trunks, black boots, black pads.
Yeah.
Ric Flair.
Other
Yeah.
than the robe.
He had robes.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan, yellow trunks,
Mm-hmm.
yellow boots, and red knee pads.
Yeah.
For the longest, the iconic run, other than the Hollywood run. Austin, Bret Hart. Like, these are not guys that are showing up with 4 different colors and pairs of tights.
And the only guy I think you could look at is maybe Savage, but that's really his later run in WWF. With the cowboy hat and everything
Yeah,
like that. I mean, early
yeah,
on, he's wearing still basic tights. I mean, he takes the
yep,
robe off. There's no difference between what he's wearing and really what Greg Valentine's wearing.
yeah,
And yeah, I think it shows that packaging works. I mean, I don't know if Austin's character would have been as great if he was wearing like red tights and white boots doing the same act. I mean, the black
no,
worked, but you can't just put anybody in black trunks, black boots, ultimately black knee braces. And, you know, that's how you can always track Austin's career, when the braces get bigger and, so,
and double
and double. Yeah.
two of them.
Yeah,
Yep,
but I mean, it just shows that it's part of it, but it's what you do in the ring. It's also what you do on the mic. It's how you carry yourself. That's what makes a star. It's not what you're wearing.
for
You know.
sure.
Um,
Let me just go through my notes here real quick. So I said the white boots, Austin, his appearance,
mm,
he looks much younger here than he does. I mean, even a year and a half later in 97, 98
mhm,
time. I don't know. It didn't really look like he had the goatee fully grown out here, so I
mhm.
don't know if that kind of did it. But he looks like he aged quite a bit.
Well, you got to think when he's at his peak, how many nights off did he get?
Probably not many. I mean, he
I
was
mean,
he was
between
probably working.
if you're not doing shows, you're not doing TV, you're doing press, you're doing other
Yeah,
meetings. I mean, the guy probably never rested during that. I mean, they ran him hard,
yeah,
uh,
that's
and
true.
not to mention physically. Having had severe neck issues, I can't
Yeah,
imagine.
that's true. Summer
I can't imagine
'97
doing
was
what
when he
he's doing.
broke his neck.
I mean, when I had my major neck surgery, I stayed at home for a month. I didn't do anything. He was still cutting promos with that damaged neck. He was still doing
Yeah.
stuff.
What wait, was it 96 or 97 that Owen
97 when he gets his neck broken.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but I mean,
Yeah.
you think about that, he's dealing with the pain, he's dealing with everything. It's one thing if he had no physical ailments
Yeah.
and was on that schedule. And for me, it's kind of weird because first time I saw Austin was in WCW as stunning Steve Austin.
Yeah, with the
Part of
long
the Dangerous
hair.
Alliance, long blonde hair, and then he kind of has this morph where he has like the weird haircut in ECW, doing like the really strange promos,
The
and then he
Monday
comes here.
NyQuil promo.
Yeah, then he comes out here, and yeah, he's I mean, we got to see what Stone Cold will be in that period between, he gets fired from WCW, he's in ECW. We see the genesis of this. It just took a little while to catch up.
Yeah. Um, DiBiase was still at ringside. You mentioned him earlier.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think he made it much past this because I don't believe he was at ringside at King of the Ring.
No, and I mean, really, he leaves. He's going to be another guy that leaves to WCW. He's
Yeah.
not an in-ring talent, but he's certainly a recognizable figure. When he
Yep.
shows up, people know who the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase is.
Absolutely. And
And
he's going in there basically as the money man
yes, yep,
for the NWO.
yeah. So I mean, what a weird period that what the business will be at this moment in March of '96 to what it's going to be a year later in March of '97. It's I mean, we're talking major, major change.
Oh yeah, I mean we're April, May, June, 4 months away from the NWO.
Yeah.
As I said, we get a devastating maneuver from Vince McMahon in a call. It's a double axe handle from Austin off the second rope, I believe. What a devastating maneuver! They get a 2 count. They show Mark Henry at ringside. More on him later. Austin gets a foot on the ropes, and I I haven't seen this in a little while, but I said it was a terrible foot on the ropes. Do you
Mhm.
remember what happened that made me write that?
Not offhand. I mean, once again, it's also going to be a double count out. So
Yes.
it's kind of like, well, it's a very typical WWF match in the 1990s.
On
It's
TV, yeah.
on
Yeah,
TV.
they were not giving main events away on television back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. I mean, because you look at it really, this is outside of the main event on this show. This is the only one where we really have names, wrestling names.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's guys going over jobbers.
Yeah, the next two matches are just going to be squash matches against job guys.
Yeah, so I mean, it's yeah, but once again, Vince isn't going to, frankly, he's not going to give somebody a loss or a win on free TV at this point.
Yeah.
He's still the mindset, we use this to build to that, and then we
Yep.
give it away when you're paying for it. And I'd
Um,
also be, I didn't look at it, but I'd like to see some of the house show results from this era, because you might see guys going over at the house show, but it's not like today where what's happening at your house shows. Well, not right now in 2020 because there are no house shows.
that's
But
very true.
I'd be interested to see if like you do see like Vega go over at the house shows, because usually you see the face go over the heel at the house shows, or if you're building a heel, you have him go over. But nobody's paying attention to that. It's not on TV. So
Let's see. You may hear some clicking on here. Let's see. Let me see if I can bring this up since you mentioned it. We are in 1996. What are we? March 11th. So March 15th. We are at the Hartford Civic Center for a house show. Bob Backlund beats the 1-2-3 Kid. Barry Horowitz gets a win.
was this around that time he had that little run?
Maybe.
Because remember, he had like that little run where all of a sudden he was like getting victories. And I don't know if this was around that time or not. Might have been a year before, I want
Yeah.
to say.
So
Because one of those was against Razor Ramon. Of course, we know he's going to be out of here very soon.
Yes. He beat Isaac Yankem.
Ooh, nice.
Dr. Isaac Yankem, Jerry Lawler's personal dentist.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
He went on to do other things.
If you ever talk about a guy that could have been killed with a gimmick, and
gotta be, yeah.
And honestly, even Kane, what he does later, you could have seen that just been a short run necessarily. The
Yes.
fact he got 20 years out of Kane plus.
Yes.
Man, that's
well. So he went from Isaac Yankem to Fake Diesel.
Fake Diesel. Yeah, there's another killer right there.
Yeah, I mean, come on, to survive those two and even still have a job.
Yeah,
there's got to be something to this guy. And yeah, then they give him the Kane gimmick, which I don't. Surely that wasn't supposed to be a long-term thing. That was supposed to just be somebody you bring in against Undertaker for a short period.
Well, on paper, he's just another monster Undertaker has to slay.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have very well gone the Giant Gonzalez route. Now, Glenn Jacobs is a much better worker than Giant Gonzalez. I am a better worker than Giant Gonzalez.
And you've got two bad knees and a fused neck.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what is interesting is that he does, he's in Smoky Mountain for a little while when they were doing that kind of talent exchange, and Taker's actually going to wrestle him down in Smoky Mountain. And Taker's like, hey, this is a guy I can work with.
Yeah.
He's big. He actually can move. He's not stiff in the ring. And, that's really, I think, what set the stage. And
yeah,
for one of the most long-term rivalries in wrestling history.
Yep. Let's see who else is on the card. Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Wonder whatever happened to that guy.
I heard he married up.
Yes, I heard that.
Right. That lovable scamp from Greenwich, Connecticut. I think he did okay.
I think he did. He pinned Duke Drosy.
Ooh, the dumpster.
The dumpster.
Yeah, we still have guys with occupations right now.
Yes.
We've got a dentist.
Mm-hmm.
We've got I don't know if TL Hopper's still here, the wrestling plumber. Not to be confused when Dusty Rhodes was a plumber in WWF. Yeah, I mean, this is we're still dealing with wrestling gimmicks that are occupations.
Yes.
Like,
let's see. Bret Hart and The Undertaker defeated Diesel and Shawn Michaels. We get a little hint at something about Diesel and Shawn Michaels tagging together in this show. I don't think I made any notes about that, but I remember it being there. Ahmed Johnson and Yokozuna, there's a team for you. Beat Davey Boy Smith and Owen Hart. Intercontinental Champion Goldust beat Savio Vega. Justin Bradshaw, or whatever happened to him, pinned Aldo Montoya.
Portuguese man of war.
Yeah. Steve Austin defeated Avatar. I have no idea who Avatar is. Via submission with the $1 Million Dream. And the Godwins defeated Skip and Zip. Avatar must just be a job guy. Let's see.
Wasn't that Al Snow?
I think you're right, actually. Yeah.
Wasn't that? Yeah, there was like.
Yeah. I think that was Al Snow. Yeah.
Because I don't know if this is the period where then he goes to form the New Rockers. I don't know when that fits into this time frame.
It's got to be right around here.
Yeah. So.
All right. Let me ask.
So what we're seeing, the talent that they have that are in really miscast roles.
Yes.
And I think the beauty is 2-3 years later, these guys find the right roles.
Right.
And so, I mean, what we really look at long term, if you would look at the talent roster of WCW at this moment, it is overloaded with talent.
Yeah, that they don't know what to do with.
But then I don't know, you don't see that younger talent that's going to carry them to that next step. Whereas here, it's really weak at the top. There's a lot of guys down below coming up that you're like, man, in 2 or 3 years, it's going to be stacked with talent.
Yeah. All right, let me go over 2 other cards here. March 16th at the U.S. Air Arena in Landover, Maryland, the building that no longer exists. The Godwins beat Skip and Zip again. Zip took the pin. That would be Dr. Tom Pritchard.
Yes. Yeah.
Doctor of Desire.
Too bad we didn't have the gigolo Jimmy Del Rey here.
I know. Ooh, was he even still living at this point?
Oh, ouch. Yeah, I don't even know if he was.
I can't remember because
I'm just saying the heavenly bodies were,
that was a great deal.
And you know what's so funny? That's still like the kid moment, and they have a guy called the Gigolo.
Yeah.
Like, what? I mean, I would think the Gigolo would work in the Attitude Era.
No.
I mean, well, I guess then they went to a full-blown porn star in Val Venus. So,
yeah, that's true.
So maybe maybe Jimmy Del Rey is like, when they show the evolution chart of man.
He's
like,
in the middle.
Yeah, like he's in the middle. He's like that, he eventually went extinct, but he eventually gave us a Val Venus.
Yeah, it's true.
So when wrestling, anthropologists unearth this, they'll be like, we can see the link between the Gigolo and Val Venus.
Yeah, for sure. 1, 2, 3 Kid beat Barry Horowitz with a spin kick. He made a lot of money off that spin kick. Ahmed Johnson beat Isaac Yankem. Bradshaw beat Avatar. Hunter beat Duke Drosy again. Jake Roberts and Yokozuna. I think those two tagged again at some point.
Yeah.
Beat Davey Boy Smith and Owen Hart.
How much work do you think Owen Hart had to do in that match?
It depends how well off Davey was.
Yeah, but I mean,
oh, that's true. But yeah, Owen would have been the one in the ring having to carry these two. Jake, who I'm sure was impaired,
but he did find Jesus at this time.
Oh, that's true.
So he was high on Jesus.
Yeah.
And by Jesus, I mean crystal meth. So.
Goldust beat Savio Vega.
Actually, maybe somebody in Landover got him some of that Thunderbird and gave him that courage that he needed.
Yeah, that he needed when he faced Austin.
Yeah, that's the problem. At King Ring, he didn't have his Thunderbird.
Yeah.
There's another what if.
What if Jake Roberts would have had his Thunderbird at King of the Ring?
He's going to DDT Austin. There we go. He's got
Yep.
that weird snake vest that he's wearing at the time. You know,
Yeah.
um,
That's that's what you wear when you're in no shape to be wrestling.
yes, yeah, that's Ric Flair wearing a T-shirt on the last episode of Nitro.
Yeah. Yeah. Shawn Michaels beat Steve Austin. Now there's a match that would take place again on much bigger stages.
Yes, it would. And
Uh, and then Bret Hart works double duty. I'm not sure why. There's no explanation. It says he beats The Undertaker and then he beats Diesel.
what's interesting? Hart always really worked well with bigger guys.
Yeah.
I mean, even what he was able to do with Yoko. I
Yeah.
mean, with the best match. Now, at that time, Yoko was still pretty solid in the ring, but I mean, Diesel, some of his best matches were with Hart.
Yeah.
Also with
You know,
Michaels as well.
obviously without having the tape here or any other results, I bet how this went was that Diesel came down and interfered
Mm-hmm.
and knocked out Undertaker, and then somebody
Mm-hmm.
came out and said, "Hey, Big Diesel, you want to interfere with this match and mess around? You get in there with Brett." I bet that's how.
Well, aren't we
Bet
going to
that's
have
how
a
it went.
moment where actually at the WrestleMania this year, isn't it Diesel and Taker?
I believe so.
Because that was, I think, Diesel's last WrestleMania before he goes to down to Atlanta.
Yes, that's true.
So, yeah, so I mean, that's kind of, and also it's probably, a lot of times they'll show, as crazy as this sounds, in a couple weeks, in a year, I went to my last live wrestling event. It was at the Giant Center in Hershey, and they were actually testing out Drew McIntyre as more of a face
Yeah.
at the house show. And you'll see that a lot with the house shows. You can start to see kind of what the future booking is and what they're trying to do with guys.
Yep.
This is probably one, we know that Brett can go with Taker. We know Brett can go with Diesel. It's also setting up that feud later for WrestleMania. So, yeah, I think you booked it probably the way it went down.
And the last card we'll look at, March 17th, 96, Madison Square Garden. Aldo Montoya beats Isaac Yankem. I'm sure that was enthralling. Bradshaw beats Avatar. The Godwins beat Skip and Zip again. I'm sure the best part of any of those matches was Sonny.
Oh, yeah.
Because let's just the Godwins are not known. They're not exactly Bret Hart in the ring.
No.
Steve Austin beats Barry Horowitz with $1 Million Dream.
Mm-hmm.
Bret Hart and Undertaker beat Diesel and Shawn Michaels via disqualification when Diesel hit the Undertaker with a steel chair, as Undertaker had Shawn Michaels set up for the tombstone. After the match, Diesel hit Bret Hart with the chair before doing the same thing to Shawn. That was very wordy.
Yes.
That was obviously the main event. They would have gone to intermission. Hunter Hearst Helmsley pins Duke Drosy in a no disqualification match following the pedigree onto a trash can lid.
That's good shit. Oh, oops, sorry. Sorry, I did my Vince McMahon right there. That's good stuff there, pal. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh,
This family show.
it's a family show. There's no other way. I'm laughing so hard because obviously it's ridiculous because Duke Drosy had the garbage man gimmick. But now, reading that now, God, that's ridiculous. They're hitting each other with dumpsters and pickup trucks and stuff now, and they're not even getting a 1 count.
Yeah.
And he goes down for the count just because of a trash can lid.
Well, and also even like when you mentioned Austin's match, he wins on the $1 million dream, and a year later he's got the hottest finishing move going.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, honestly, a sleeper is like the lamest finisher ever.
Sort of. I mean,
I
it
mean,
is
it just
now
doesn't. I
compared to
mean,
what we've seen now.
yeah, it's not that exciting. It's I don't know. It always to me seemed like a weird finishing move.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good like to use in the middle of a match for Hogan to Hulk up when he's in it. The classic sleeper Hulk up. But yeah, talk about change of character in 1 year.
for
Actually, really a
sure.
matter of months, for that matter.
Intercontinental Champion Goldust beats Savio Vega in a no count out match after using the title belt as a weapon. Ahmed Johnson pins the 1-2-3 Kid after the Pearl River Plunge. I'm baffled by this. Wow. Jake Roberts and Yokozuna with George the Animal Steel in their corner defeats Davey Boy Smith and Owen Hart following a DDT and a leg drop. During the match, Jim Cornette was handcuffed to George Steele at ringside. Oh, boy. Wow. Okay.
And by the way, earlier today, I watched Starcade '85.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I'm like, that was what I saw earlier today. And then there's
Yes.
this 11 years later.
Yeah.
Like,
Anyway, what brought us into looking at those cards was Steve Austin and Savio Vega, who have had no interactions
right. Yeah.
on any of these house shows.
Which I would have just thought, because, they did have a bit of a feud going. You would see they'd be working together on the house show loop. But, go figure.
Yeah. Anyway, double count out. A very interesting double count out that they were both on the apron. I'm not sure if I've ever seen that. They get into a fight afterwards. Savio hits a spinning heel kick on Austin, who then goes outside the ring. Now, when he fell down, what was your first thought?
I was kind of like, oh, that was strange. So
when he goes rolling out of the ring and he stood up and fell back, my first thought was that it looked like he did a backwards Flair flop.
Yeah.
It looked like he was standing up perfect and then just bam.
Yeah.
Straight down, just like a flop from Flair. Anyway, on we go.
Can we just talk about how awesome the Flair flop is?
It is. We still need to do the watch along of the Royal Rumble.
Oh, yeah.
And keep a count of how many times he does that.
I saw on one of the wrestling pages I follow, it was a meme of in that match where the Texas Tornado comes in and hits Flair with like the discus punch.
Yeah.
And just the caption was like, how hard has 2020 hit you this year? And of course it's followed by a Flair flop. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, a classic move by Flair.
Yes. Just walk out and bam.
Yeah, no,
just flat.
Well, actually, speaking of the last house show I was at, Charlotte Flair did a Flair flop in the house show.
Yes,
that was like the biggest thing I popped for, and there's like all these like 12-year-old kids around me that have no idea why this.
What did she just
30-year-old guys like going crazy for Charlotte Flair falling down? But
yeah,
that's also when I heard a kid ask his dad who Ric Flair is, and I wanted to like go call child services because clearly that father has failed him.
Who's Ric Flair?
Yeah, my friend almost had to hold me back.
Did you not watch wrestling on the network?
Yeah, honestly, I've decided if I ever have kids and they watch wrestling, they've got to watch everything I watched before they can watch the new product. Like
you're not going to do much to create modern wrestling fans.
No, but it might be like a little Jim Cornette. So
well, that's true.
Yeah, it's all fun and games. So my kid wants to have like a loaded tennis racket.
Yeah, for sure. God, he said one time that he took like a baking pan and got like a bacon pan that was the right size to fit inside the racket, and he like had chains and horseshoes inside the
Yeah.
pan.
Well, in that era, Cornette needed a weapon,
Yeah, he did.
not involved in the match, but from the crowd. So,
Yes, yes, he needed it for protection from the crowd.
yeah.
Well, when was it? Was it the watch along maybe they did with Vader that he was in? He's like, "Yep, I had my racket here because
Mhm.
then nobody can hit me from this side because the racket's covering me, so I only have to cover one side."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and these fans were tame.
Yes, these
So
were WWE fans. These were not Mid South wrestling
I was
fans.
watching the lead in to, Flair and Rhodes at Starrcade '85 when September the Horseman broke his ankle in the Omni.
Yeah,
I could have swore like they were like 5 seconds away from the governor having to call the National Guard into that arena.
yeah,
It was that serious. Like people are trying to get at the Horseman, and it's not like it was mega level heat. Like it's a
yeah,
riot. And yeah, so I mean that's the thing. Like WWE fans, they're tame compared to the South.
yeah.
Like
Even when they weren't, they were still tame.
yeah, I mean like poorly behaved WWF fans in this era is like best behavior in Mid South.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they're like, man, this is a good night. We didn't get shot at.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of Southern wrestling, we get a segment with Jerry Lawler where
Oh yeah.
he goes for a ride from Mark Henry. Mark Henry with the press slam. This is the first time Mark Henry was seen on
Hmm.
uh, WWF television.
Yeah.
Um, and other than this being the build into WrestleMania, I mean that's probably the biggest thing to come out of this episode was that it's really the debut of Mark Henry.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe other than the mention of Stone Cold in relation to Austin, but that's not like a
Yeah,
historical. And I mean, also here's a guy too. We talk about a guy that could have been killed by some gimmicks. It was Mark Henry. I mean, because he's being given at this era, the red, white, and blue Olympic hero gimmick.
yeah,
That basically the same thing they're going to give Kurt Angle later.
yep,
They have Angle be a heel with it. They're trying to make, Mark Henry be the goody good baby face. And, then when he gets that nice little run where he's in the nation, I mean, you're getting sexual chocolate, which is awesome, but he's a comedy act.
yeah,
I mean, I always loved Henry in the Hall of Pain years. He was one of my favorite performers. I mean, he had an awesome intro. Like, I mean, he was just a beast in the ring.
yeah,
And honestly, you're thinking that should have been Mark Henry his entire career,
yeah.
like, and but yeah, especially an under evaluated guy. I've always said if I do a heel turn, I'm going to wear a salmon colored jacket. So if you ever see me show up in that, I'm making a heel
Watch
turn,
out.
that night.
Yeah,
So
watch out.
then I'm going to say I'm retiring. So
Yeah. Did anybody really believe he was retiring?
oh God no. When Cena came out, I was like, okay, this is
Well,
yeah.
so Cena was there beforehand, right? Cena did his thing, and then Mark came out, but Cena stayed.
Right. And Cena's kind of like clapping for him and like,
Yeah. When
and
surely once anybody saw Cena still there, it was like, okay, wait a minute, something's fixing to happen.
yeah, I mean, that was a good run for Henry. And I'm glad he got a run as a world champion. He's probably a guy that really deserved it.
Yeah.
Once again, another guy, longevity.
Yep.
And also a guy that overcame some really terrible gimmicks in his career.
Yeah. For sure.
Like, and that could be an entire episode. Guys that overcame terrible gimmicks.
Oh, yeah. John Cena.
I'll tell you another guy on this show, Goldust.
We'll get to him in a second.
I was
So
gonna say, how does that? I mean,
yeah,
frankly, that gimmick, it's more. I mean, it's a precursor to the Attitude Era.
yeah,
But man, the fact that if you would have told me that he was going to basically have almost a 20-year run as Goldust, I'd have been like, you're out of your mind.
he's still running as Gold Dust.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
can't use the name, but he's still
right?
dressing
He's
as
still the
Gold
same.
Dust.
Yeah,
That's 24 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll it in what 3 months. Well, hang on,
Well, we
four.
saw him
Th-
when we went to that show in the garden. We
yeah,
saw him wrestle as Gold Dust.
yeah. So I mean, 3 or 4 months? I'm horrible at math, but in 3 or 4 months, I mean, this show is 25 years ago,
Yeah.
and he's still working his Gold Dust.
He's still working.
Well, yeah, that's true. He's
Now, he
still
did come in
working.
incredibly young. I think he was like 2021 when he
Yeah.
broke into business, you
So at
know?
this point, I mean, he would have still been in his 20s, but
Yeah.
that puts him. I mean, he's 53 or 4.
Right. Yeah.
So the next little segment, we hear about the tag team tournament, and this is when I'm going to try to do this handy screen share on our little Zoom thing here. Do you see it?
I do.
Okay. So this is the tag team championship tournament. And so they show highlights from the Bushwhackers against the Body Donnas
Wow.
in this one.
That's a main event anywhere in the world.
Main event anywhere in the world. I'm not going to look up to see where that match was taped.
In honor of Pat Patterson, Rio de Janeiro.
It had to be Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah. Anytime I win a tournament, I'm going to tell people I won it in Rio de Janeiro.
Exactly.
That's where all tournaments are won.
Razor Ramon and Savio Vega again defeated the 1-2-3 Kid and Tatanka. Now, Tatanka, there's a guy that went kind of downhill in a hurry.
The pride of Robeson County, North Carolina.
Pride of Robeson County, yes. But he had that huge run where he was undefeated for the longest time.
Yeah.
And then he lost, and then, you didn't really hear much out of him.
I think, didn't he lose? Wasn't it Ludwig Borga?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, talk about that's the guy that breaks your streak. Like,
well,
and at the time they're trying to build, which I've always thought was so weird because this is post-Cold War. Like, Borga is this evil Finn from Finland. Like,
yeah.
I've never been worried about people from Finland. Like, I mean, what are they going to do? Beat me up and then I take advantage of their free healthcare? Like, thanks. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's not the country I think would be evil, Like,
no.
I mean,
apparently he broke his leg or something really bad, and that's why you kind of never saw him again.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he is continuing the tradition of evil Scandinavians. I mean, we did have the Berserker.
True. Very true.
Yeah, so I mean, there you go. We talk about, crazy Samoans. Well, what about, savage Scandinavians? And they've forgotten wrestling subcategory.
Owen Hart and the Bulldog beat Hakushi and Barry Horowitz. Now that is a tremendous tag team.
You know what? I actually liked Hakushi when he was out. I mean, he had a really cool, unique look. I mean, when he did the run with Bret Hart where he pulled Hart's head, the fake Bret Hart head out. But from what I've read, I guess he looked bigger on the tapes they sent from Japan. So when he gets to the US, he's not as big as they thought.
That's funny.
But I mean, the guy, if you watch some of Hakushi's matches, there's some really cool stuff he does. I'd highly recommend check him out. He's honestly the stuff he does with Bret Hart, some of the highlights of 95 in that era. So
nice. And the Godwins beat the New Rockers.
There they are.
So it would seem that perhaps Avatar is working double duty.
Yes.
Second round, Body Donnas beat Stone Cold and Savio Vega. Razor Ramon had to be substituted for because he failed a drug test.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Owen and Bulldog go down defeated by the Godwins. Pinnacle achievement.
I do want to mention the Godwins. Only a couple years before, when they were in WCW, they were Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce. actually a solid upper level tag team, carried the
Yeah.
strap in WCW for a while, wasn't bad, and they come to the WWF and they become pig farmers.
Yeah.
And Henry O. Godwin, hog, Phineas I. Godwin, pig. Man, that Vince.
That's got Vince all over it. And
We'll
then the
just
Body
replay what I said a
Donnas.
few minutes earlier.
Well, yeah. Then the Body Donnas defeat the Godwins. So the Donnas have been losing every match that they've gone against the Godwins at every one of these house shows. And they finally win.
There we go.
So yeah, there's the tag team tournament, since I'm sure everybody was enthralled about how that was gonna take place. Anyway, let me switch my notes here.
And think about all the iconic tag teams that were involved in that.
Yeah. That card that I just read that reads like Exhibit A for how weak the talent pool in the WWF was at this point in time. Let me just say that straight.
Well, and other than really kind of a run you have in the 80s, Vince has never really, I think, been that big on tag teams.
No, he hasn't.
I mean, you had that run in the late 80s into the 90s where you had some really great tag teams.
Where he had poached them from everywhere.
Right. I mean, but now, they were kind of an afterthought. We got to get these guys on the card somehow.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cobbled together teams. Like,
I mean, even when we were watching during the Attitude Era, they didn't have tag teams then. I mean, yes, you had some classic matches with Edge and Christian and the Hardys and the Dudleys, but
yeah, the New Age Outlaws.
Yeah, but the Outlaws were kind of, I mean, they were kind of gone by the time those three came up, weren't they?
Yeah, I know I mean, but I mean, that era, I think that era is looked upon more favorably from what the Hardys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys did than what really the talent would have showed at that time.
Well, yeah, because who did you have? Once
Yeah.
you get past those three, I don't know if I can think of anybody.
No, it's.
I can't think of anybody offhand that was, a world beater.
And I think this is a big difference between northern WWF wrestling and southern NWA WCW wrestling.
Exactly.
I mean, you would have cards in the South where it was tag teams that were at the top of the card.
Yes.
The Midnight versus the Rock and Roll Express. That was top of the card. I mean, it was much different mindset. And I think probably one of the reasons why Vince probably didn't like tag teams so much is you got to pay the guys more.
Yeah.
I'd rather spend money on a singles guy than, pay Ricky and Robert.
Yeah.
Plus Bobby Eaton and Stan Lang,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And after that, you get Gold Dust coming to the ring. And then a WWF shop advertisement with a voiceover by one Doc Hendricks.
Hey, I've heard that voice before, but I just can't place it.
Can't place where?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he grew up on Bad Street, USA.
Might have. Advertising a denim WrestleMania 12 jacket.
You know what? How epic would that be to rock today?
I was thinking that. I was, when I saw that, I was like, you know what?
I'm going to go on eBay.
I don't know if I want to go on eBay. There's probably some out there, but I'm sure they're not cheap.
Yeah, that's one of those you got to find at your local thrift shop.
Yeah, just somebody that doesn't know what they have and just ditched it.
I think it would be great if you wore it and only stayed in 1996 wrestling. You stayed in character, you knew nothing that happened after this.
Yeah,
who's Stone Cold Steve Austin? Who's The Rock?
Yeah.
What do you mean Hogan's a heel? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Who's John Cena? Said my prayers and trained in this jacket. Don't you see the sweat on it? Denim doesn't breathe, brother. You know, I'm just. I think that'd be awesome. Like, and it's like the weirdest altercation they've ever had in a supermarket ever.
Yeah.
You know, and
So after we come back from that advertisement, the Hot Rod comes to the ring. 9 years after his retirement from professional wrestling at WrestleMania 3.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
Ask
boy.
WCW how that retirement worked out.
Yeah, I know. Vince is in the ring as an interviewer. Um, let's just say Hot Rod cuts a promo that would not work today.
As a
Yeah.
lot of his material.
Yeah, a lot of the material from Gold Dust wouldn't work today either.
No, like I mean, let's face it. There's a lot of stuff in Piper's career. A tremendous guy on the mic.
Yeah.
Nobody can deny that. But a lot of his work does not age well.
No, no, it doesn't.
I
The
mean,
match
hitting
from
Jimmy's.
WrestleMania 6.
Yeah. Supposedly, I heard on that somebody did a rib and made it like a paint that doesn't easily come off.
Andre.
Yeah, so he had to like do it. Like he had to go through like the the airport like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that was Andre that did it.
There you go.
Piper mentions Adrian Adonis.
Mhm.
Obviously a throwback to WrestleMania 3.
And
I think
all the 8-year-olds watching at the time were like, "What?"
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah,
kids, there was no Wikipedia then. You can't Google these guys.
yeah. If
You had to
you did
know it.
if you didn't know who Adrian Adonis was, you just didn't know.
Well, I can remember, like, as a kid when guys would switch companies. Like, a good example, I was a big Ron Simmons fan in WCW.
Yeah.
When he became Farouk, I was like, "I think that's Ron Simmons, but I'm not sure."
Yeah.
Because, like, I wasn't, like, reading the dirt sheets. I wasn't, like, going on to Google, say, "Okay, that's who that guy was."
Yeah.
You had to kinda like, "Yeah, I think that's who that is," you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Or, like, when Alundra Blaze comes out, I'm like, "Wait a minute, that's Medusa. Why does she have a different name?
Yeah.
Get married?" Like, good for her, you know?
Good for her.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of challenges to being a wrestling fan in the late '80s, early '90s, even
Yes,
late.
because Vince would change everybody's name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And obviously in the two promos that are pretty much unrepeatable on any sort of normal programming today, we get the WrestleMania 12 match set up. The Hollywood Backlot Brawl.
Not a bad match, though. Very entertaining, even with shades of O.J. Simpson
Yeah,
thrown into it.
I don't know if shades is the right word.
Ooh.
Just piracy.
Well, I'm trying to give Vince some credit. So
Yeah, let's just take this news feed and pipe it into our WrestleMania.
yeah.
I remember watching that. I was like, wait a minute. Because I mean, I remember watching WrestleMania 12 live. I'm sure we didn't pay for it. Not that, not that that ever happened.
No.
But I mean, I remember watching this show live and I'm like, wait a minute. That looks like the OJ car chase. Because I remember seeing that live too. Whatever I was, what would we have been? Probably 11 or 12 when the OJ car chase thing took place.
Yeah, that was what,
I
94?
think so. Yeah, 94.
Yeah.
And so then obviously by this point we would have been 13.
Mhm.
Like, what is going on?
Well, and see, this is a weird time to be a wrestling fan when you're like 12, 13, because the stuff that would fly when you were 9 or 10, you start to know a little bit more about the world at this time.
Yeah.
You're
It's
paying
true.
more attention. You're paying more attention to Sonny and Marlena than you are Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart.
Yeah.
You know?
Very true.
Like it was a tough time to be a wrestling fan.
Yes. Speaking of a tough time, I'll guarantee you it takes me longer to read the names of the people in this next match than the match took. the Godwins, Hog and Pig, with Hillbilly Jim and a
Ooh,
dog.
ooh.
Defeat Jerry Mead and Alex Porto. Job guys. To be nice. Not much to this. The job guys get a little bit of offense in,
Mm,
and then the Godwins win in about a minute and a half.
yeah.
Not much. I think it almost certainly took longer to explain that.
And you know what? I think this is something that today modern fans don't really understand the idea of like job guys. Because
No,
like today, you have jobbers that are known characters.
Zach
Like,
Ryder.
yeah, like I mean, I'm talking like the days of like Iron Mike Sharp
Yeah.
and George South, the gambler, like guys are just getting the crap kicked out of them.
Speaking of Zach Ryder, now he made that big debut on AEW, but has he been back?
Mm. I hardly I hardly ever follow AEW that much. Like I did watch the episode on demand when Sting showed up, just so I could mark out to Tony Schiavone doing, "Oh my god, it's Sting," because
Yeah.
those are childhood memories. But yeah, I don't really follow it that much.
Um, why did they get Sting? Just why?
I didn't realize Sting's in his 60s.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. He's 60. Yeah. He's 61, I think.
yeah, I'm like, what's he gonna do? Take a bump?
It doesn't. I don't understand what he's going to do for the amount of money that they've got to be paying him.
Well, supposedly it's a long-term deal, and I guess I read that like his merchandise went through the roof, which I mean, I guess if you're for that purpose, maybe it's a good deal, but I just don't know what you're going to be able to do with him in the ring.
Yeah. For the amount of money that they're paying him, they could have signed probably 20
Mhm.
independent guys who would be great hands, and you could build something for the future. But instead you're probably paying. Sure, he's not doing it for nothing.
No. Well, and also, I mean, like I can see a guy like Tully Blanchard or Arn Anderson being a manager. I
Yeah.
I can't see Sting being a manager.
No,
Like, so
he's
what
never
use does
done
he
it.
have?
Let's
And I mean,
just be honest. Sting is not known to be the promo that Arn Anderson is.
or Tully.
Yeah, he's not known for that.
And also his character for most of us, this is not Surfer Sting.
No,
Sting that said hardly anything. He spoke with his actions.
exactly. Yeah,
So
that was the whole thing with Crow Sting. He
yeah,
never spoke.
yeah.
When
I mean, I
in
don't get very.
'98, when he started cutting promos when he was wearing the red face
Mhm.
paint and he was Wolfpack. What?
Yeah,
No, he was killed. He he was the biggest babyface in wrestling when he was coming out of the ceilings and just beating people up with baseball
Mhm.
bats. It's what he did.
I mean, I could see him work well in like a one-off or something like that to even the odds in a match.
Yeah.
That could work, but long term, are you really going to make me believe that a 61-year-old guy with a baseball bat is going to be able to beat up a bunch of 20 and 30-year-old athletes at their prime? Like,
No,
come on.
no, it's ridiculous.
I mean, maybe one on one, but you're not going to have the days where he jumps into the middle of the NWO and lays them all out.
No,
You can't do that today.
I mean,
Sting will break a hip.
what are you gonna do? Are you gonna have him and Darby and Cody against Tully and two people? Like it just there's no
No.
sense in the Sting thing. But anyway, um, speaking of people who have aged out of whatever, Shawn Michaels, we get a training package from Shawn Michaels where it's him and Jose Lothario, and Jose Lothario's speaking in Spanish, and that's not any kind of an ethnic comment there, but I can't understand Spanish, and I don't suspect 80% of the audience or more who was
Mm.
watching on the USA Network at this time could understand Spanish, so I don't know what the point of that was. And then we get a Bret the Hitman Hart package, and then we get an Ultimate Warrior package.
Yeah. I mean, talk about like going from two of the greatest ring technicians ever
Yeah,
in
to
Hart and
Warrior.
Michaels to Warrior. Like, I mean, and also, I mean, I do kind of like those vignettes, how they were preparing for the Iron Man match,
Yeah,
because that was pretty cool. They're saying, hey, this is going to be different than anything else we've done. I do kind of like gave it a sense of realism,
yeah,
which worked there. But then you go from that to Ultimate Warrior. So,
right.
and he wasn't even loading up the rocket ship here.
No, that was the only thing that made him funny was when he was loading the rockets and the
Yeah.
whatevers. Uh,
Flying it with Hogan into the sun.
yeah,
Like, I love when baby faces announce they're going to commit murder.
yeah. That's just
Like,
what we need to hear.
yeah, like, it's like, I mean, could you imagine if Warrior just came out and says, Hulk Hogan, I'm going to murder you? And
Sounds
the
weird.
crowd stops. But if you fly someone on a rocket into the sun, they will be murdered. It's science.
Yes.
Now, I hate that it's 2020 and I have to explain that to some listeners. So, folks, the sun is real. Rocket ships are real. The earth is round.
It is round, yes.
Like,
There's a moon out
yeah,
there in the sky, in space.
yeah. I promise you, like, you're not going to fall off the edge of the world, folks.
No, you can go as far as you want. You're just going to come back.
Yeah, exactly. We're all little warriors out there.
All little warriors.
And let's just, I mean, talk about the idea that like every year WWE gives the Warrior Award
at the Hall of Fame. Yes.
Like, I love the selective memory they have. Like, do they remember like
the destruction
Warrior?
of the Ultimate Warrior DVD?
Yeah, do they remember like Warrior, like his ultra like radical rants he was going on?
No,
like,
they obviously. Do you think Vince has ever heard those?
That's a good question.
I doubt he has.
That is a good question. Now, I'm sure people that work around Vince have heard it.
Oh, I'm sure people who work around him have.
Yeah, you know what? That's very interesting. Did Vince ever hear that? Like, I don't know. I mean, and we will say by the end of his life, supposedly Warrior seemed to have turned it around to be a halfway decent guy. It seems.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know though. It's like just because you pay him a halfway decent guy doesn't walk back a lot of really terrible stuff you said.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not so that we look back today. It's not like Piper and we go, oh man, that didn't age well. It didn't sit well when he said it in like 2004.
Yeah. Yeah. This was stuff that was just outlandish and stupid when it came out of his mouth.
Yeah. You're like, wait, what? Yeah. Like, so, and I mean, well, once again, be a star.
Yes. Yeah. Be a star.
You know what I want to do? I want to get like one of those like appearances of Warrior when he's doing a C-SPAN appearance, when he's ranting, and just overdub the "Be a Star" over it. I think you can make a good meme.
Yeah. Next match. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, little known worker, with Michelle Stickler, I believe is the name I heard. I don't believe she made too many more appearances.
No, I don't think she did.
Against a guy by the name of Vin Greer. I had to look that up on the internet just now because my notes just say job guy. I don't believe
job guys have names.
I don't believe I don't think the guy got a graphic. Because if he would have got a graphic, I could have just paused it and wrote it down. But I'm pretty sure he didn't even get a graphic. Definitely get an announcement from the ring announcer. So, I mean, that tells you the way this match is going.
Yeah.
We get a good little quip from Jerry Lawler that Hunter has wore more clothes in a day than Gandhi wore in a lifetime.
That doesn't age well.
I have no idea where. I don't. I don't even understand that.
Like, and also, how many kids knew who Gandhi was?
That's true. I mean, Gandhi had been dead for every bit of 30 years at this
Like,
point, right?
like some of these references are hilarious, but like for your audience, like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say wrestling fans are stupid because they're not. Like, wrestling fans come from all walks of life, all different backgrounds. But like, I think if you're trying to like make a reference, like,
Well, that I mean, that's like it's like the college that puts out, I'm sure you've read them, the mindset list.
yeah,
Just like they'll put together these long lists of things that, hey, professor, uh these are things your students are now going to pretty much have no frame of reference on.
hmm
Like this
well,
year's
that's something I've wondered too. Like, Vince always tried to like kind of tap into pop culture,
yeah,
current events, and like I wonder how many kids watching it today that weren't even alive in the 1990s are having to like Google stuff. So maybe they're like learning. Maybe some kid like Googles who Gandhi is. Like that's
that's
kind of cool.
true.
Like, but I mean, there's some of it like we talk about stuff that doesn't age well, not because of the content and really what they're saying, but some of it's like it's so topical to that time. You're
Yeah.
just like, what? And I lived through it, and some of the stuff I go, who was that? What was going on? You
Well,
know?
that's the whole thing with the OJ car chase.
Yeah.
If you watch that today and you don't, what is this car chase? Well, I mean that's the reaction I had when it was going on live, but and I knew it was OJ Simpson, but it's
Mhm,
what is this car chase? This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
mhm. Yeah. Oh yeah. And why is it on every channel?
Yeah. Cornette said OJ Simpson owes him $10,000.
Well, you know what? Cornette would have a record of that.
Yes, he would.
Like,
Yes, he
you know
would.
what? Anybody else in the wrestling world that says somebody owes them money, I would always take with a grain of salt. But Cornette, he's probably got the date and time it was done in his
Well,
like
no, you you
book.
you've heard his joke about that, right?
Right, yeah. But I was gonna say, like, if anybody would believe it, it's Cornette.
Oh yeah.
Like maybe he did owe him money.
Then we get the geriatric control center. Uh with Scheme Gene, the Huckster, and the Nacho Man. The Huckster is wearing his tank top backwards. The Nacho Man gets his hair spray painted. Um, do, do you have anything else?
Well, you know, it's once again, I don't know if was Vince still using the new generation tagline at this point.
I don't think so. I didn't see
But I mean,
anything
we're
in this
not that
episode about
far
it.
removed from the new generation, if you will. And I mean, and some of it was like little digs. I mean, the spray painting of the hair.
Yeah,
Supposedly, Macho Man was very like self-conscious about balding.
about his hair.
So I mean, the fact that you're having like a guy can spray paint it on, like, I mean, that's what I love about Vince. When Vince decides to be petty, he doesn't just go a little petty.
No, he
He
goes
goes
all
all in. Like,
like the puppet from WrestleMania. That
oh
was
yeah,
it's obviously based on John Moxley's interview.
oh yeah.
Somebody put that interview in front of him.
I've always, I mean, we talked about earlier. Did Vince know what's going on? Like what Warrior was saying outside of his orbit? Because I think one thing about Vince, he's probably so focused on just what goes on in his world that I mean, I've read people in interviews that Vince doesn't really have hobbies other than working out.
No, well,
Like it's not
Cornette
like he
has
goes and plays
said,
golf or goes sailing. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, Cornette has said that unless in any of this stuff, even back then, unless
mhm,
him or Bruce or Pat or
yeah,
somebody sitting and said, no, no, Vince, here, sit down in front of this TV. I've got something for you to see.
mhm,
He didn't see it.
yeah, oh yeah. Well, like there's the famous account when Scott Hall is pitching his idea for Razor Ramon,
Yeah.
and he says Scarface, and Vince is like, "What's Scarface?" Like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but then again, you almost have to have that focus to do what he did. But yeah, I think it's every now and then though you see like I think he's more self-aware than we maybe want to give him credit for. I think like the puppet at WrestleMania was a great example of that. Um, but
I think he's self-aware of things that people point him out.
yes, yeah, yeah. I don't think he
But
finds it on his own.
no, and I don't no, I think unless I'm sure he didn't listen to the entire Moxley interview.
No.
Somebody just probably put that one little clip
Mhm.
in front of him.
Yeah.
So anyway, to the main event of the evening. Davey and Owen with Jim Cornette in the corner against Yokozuna and The Undertaker. You get the commentators actually mentioning that Undertaker and Yoko were feuding
Mhm.
back, in years past, and now they're tagging. So I oddly have two sets of notes on this. I took the first set of notes when I watched it the first time, and then I thought I had lost them. And so now I have my second set of notes. So I've got them both here. The first time, skipped Undertaker's entrance. Even in 1996, it took 5 minutes. And sure enough, when I watched it the second time, I timed it, and it was 3.5 minutes. And this is in a little arena. This is not at WrestleMania. This is in a little tiny arena.
You know, I just forgot something. Going back to the denim jacket,
Yeah,
you could buy it for 3 installments of $22.95.
that's classic.
So what I want to do here, let's see. All right, that's basically $69. I've got out my inflation calendar.
Oh boy, the
That
inflation
denim
calculator.
jacket today would cost you $114.51.
That's pretty expensive.
Yeah. That's why Vince is a billionaire, folks.
I don't know if I'd pay that for a denim jacket. Just
Yeah.
saying.
I'm just yeah.
So yeah, 3.5 minute Undertaker entrance. He was not wearing a denim jacket.
No.
Paul Bearer's obviously out there with him. Undertaker retired at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
What was that? 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
Weird that he didn't get to have a last match.
Yeah.
Weird that it wasn't in front of crowds.
Yeah.
Um, I always thought the way he should have gone out was, yes, he should have gone out at Survivor Series,
Mhm.
but I thought they should have had him go out in a casket match,
Mhm.
and they put him in the casket and then roll it somewhere up the aisle and set the casket on fire.
Mhm.
I thought that would have been a good way for him to go.
Well, I mean, I think eventually when they get crowds back, whenever that is, I don't think he will be Hall of Fame 2021. He's probably gonna be Hall of Fame 2022 when they get big
Yeah,
crowds back. I think they'll do something probably special for him at WrestleMania, more than just have the Hall of Famers walk out. And
right.
so he'll get that moment. But yeah, I think you're right. It was cool what they did with the Paul Bearer hologram.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm glad they did that. It was very weird though, because you had all of his all these guys that were his friends and major adversaries, and then they're not they don't really say anything. They're just there and then they're
yeah. They
gone.
just brought him out, and then
Like,
Vince came out.
yeah, but I mean, I guess for what they could do, it was the best. But yeah, I mean, of anybody that deserved to have a crowd to be able to honestly say thank you,
Yeah,
it's Taker.
yeah, absolutely, Undertaker.
Um, but the good news is, I mean, he is. I think the one way we know he's officially retired, he's did the last ride. He's doing real interviews.
Yes,
This is how you officially know he's retired.
Yeah, he's
Nobody protected their gimmick more than he did.
doing Cameo.
Yes. Have you heard some of the outtakes of some of those?
I've the only thing from Cameo that I've heard is whatever they played back on Cornette's show.
Yeah, like, but he just
I
says,
was
like,
uh,
I mean, yeah. I love, like, when he gives you the pep talk, where he's like, "You're going through tough times."
that was
I'm
horrible.
like, "What?" Like
Yeah,
like,
that
and
was
people were
horrible.
paying wasn't like $1,000 a pop?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
man.
unbelievable.
Yeah, like, I mean, I guess if you got an extra $1,000 to burn, like,
Now I'm not crazy.
there's a lot of other things I can burn $1,000 on rather than the
Yes,
Undertaker telling me I'll get through a rough patch.
better believe it. Um,
Actually, though, my best part was when Cornette told the story about a
when he
make
was signing the autograph for the kid.
right, RIP to a Make-A-Wish kid.
Yeah, because you think about it, that's how he signs everything. Rest in peace, the Undertaker. And he's here with this rest in peace kid that's got this Make a Wish kid. Poor kid's got like 2 weeks to live, and he's about to sign it. Rest in peace.
I mean,
Oh,
actually, how epic would that be, though? Like, I mean,
well, surely somebody would have caught that before they took it back out.
I don't know though. I mean, what if
Oh
it is like somebody that finds it as funny as we do? That's just like, let's do this. Like,
no, come on, you can't do that. If he would have ruined the picture, you'd have had to come up with something. Be like, hey, listen, I'm really sorry. The catering truck ran me over. We actually had to send the first man. We had to send him to the hospital. He got hurt, and so your picture got damaged. But
wait,
here,
wait, wait, wait.
but
This is
here,
WWF medical facility.
medical facility. We had to take
There
him
are
to
no
the medical
hospitals.
facility, and so we lost the picture that you sent. But here's 25 more and a WrestleMania jacket
Yeah,
to make up for it.
yeah. And
You'd have had to have done something. You
you're not
couldn't
even
have
having
took
to make
that back
the
out
repayments
there.
of 22.95.
Yeah, you couldn't have took that back out there.
I mean, the only thing worse is if they gave the kid an urn.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's terrible. We heard you're a big fan of the Undertaker. Good
And then,
grief.
little Billy that dies in 1996 gets, dumped on the Undertaker during the CM Punk feud.
Oh,
Full
that's
circle.
horrible.
Full circle, man.
You're, you're getting really morbid here.
Well,
Oh boy. Speaking of morbid, let's kill this match. Um, Yokozuna is huge, but not
Yeah.
as big as he would get. He looks actually quite trim compared to what he would be at Heroes of Wrestling. This is where you have the Diesel interview where he's talking about some rumors from Shawn Michaels, which, I don't know. Obviously, that was what we saw at Madison Square Garden where he just beans them both with chairs. Diesel comes down and beats up Paul Bearer, then Taker ditches and just leaves Yokozuna in the ring to just get
Mhm.
beat down. Vince was somehow criticizing Lawler, and Lawler said something like, "If I walked on water, you'd say the king can't swim," which I thought was great. So I've got all four men were in the ring at the start. Yoko hits a leg drop on Davy Boy. There were not many tag rules in this match. They were just in and out and all over the place. Yeah. Ahmed Johnson comes out. He takes out Davy Boy and Vader. Jake Roberts, honest to God, staggers down the ramp and has to use the ring ropes to help himself stand up. And this is the first episode taping of the night.
Mhm.
Oh boy. So he was well off. And then Vader comes out and he's wearing a sweatshirt. And you talk about a weird looking scene.
Mhm.
Vader in a sweatshirt. I don't know what was going on there. And yeah, then you had all the agents and the referees come out to break up the match, and there was quite a bit of star power in the ring. Gerald Briscoe, the Hebner brothers, Tim White,
Hmm.
and yeah, and so you get the ending. Get my notes here. You get the ending to set up Mania,
Yeah.
and so Undertaker against Diesel is getting set and built up. Davey, Owen, and Vader camp Cornette
Hmm.
against Ahmed Johnson, Jake, and Yokozuna. Um, I believe this would have been Yokozuna's last WrestleMania, probably Jake's too. Um, Sets up Austin versus Savio Vega at WrestleMania. Obviously, Piper and Gold Dust, and then the Godwins and Hunter are just out there for exposure on TV.
Well, and what we're also seeing around this time is, the plan was actually to build Hunter up a little bit. He's going to win the King of the Ring.
He was supposed to win the King of the Ring.
And here we go. We have two guys leaving the company, and Hunter decides to show up in Madison Square Garden.
Yep,
You can't punish Shawn. You can't punish Nash or Hall because they're gone.
because they're gone.
There it goes. I mean, what if in 1996 it's Hunter Hearst Helmsley that wins the King of the Ring, and Austin
Yeah,
never does the Austin 316 promo?
yeah. I mean that would have been a tremendous change in
Yeah,
the business right there. I mean, because
and,
you
I
think
mean,
about it, um, let's just face it, the King of the Ring has not really been known to create new stars.
no, not really.
Um, because I mean, Bret Hart, by the time he won King of the Ring in
Three.
'93,
He's already been champ.
yeah, he'd already been the champ. I mean, he was already the man,
Hmm.
you know. And then I Mabel, good grief.
Really.
Owen Hart, he never really got to his potential. And then you have Austin. And then going forward from there, I can't remember who won the King of the Ring. Did Rock ever win King of the Ring?
I'm actually looking it up right now. So, okay, here's like they had King of the Rings that date back into the 80s.
Yes.
So let's not like count those necessarily.
Yeah, 93, I believe, was the first
Yeah,
pay-per-view.
so let's look at 93, it's Bret Hart.
Yep.
94, it's Owen Hart.
Yep.
If anything, you could say that's being used to build Owen Hart there.
It builds him into the SummerSlam.
Mabel in 95, that's useless.
Thumbs down.
Austin in 96.
Yep.
Triple H in 97, you could say, is helping to up him a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Ken Shamrock in 98.
He that's a weird one
Yeah.
because obviously it builds him, but I mean he was already the main event of the UFC before he came over, so it's not like he was some real up and comer. I mean, he was, yeah,
Billy Gunn in 99.
didn't do much.
Angle in 2000. But I don't really think Angle didn't need building.
Yeah, he won the world title in '99, didn't he?
Right, yeah. Edge in 2001. Then we
So
get
the thing with Edge, I mean, I'm doing the math on that one. Maybe that set him up as a singles star, but
yeah,
he had
he's
already
already
had
established.
that tremendous run
Mhm.
with Christian.
And then we get Brock Lesnar in 2002.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you get like it comes back in 2006 with Booker T, but really I'm not going to consider the modern version. I mean, even Booker T, it wasn't building Booker T up. Most fans already know he's a multiple time world champion. Yeah, 5 times. You
Five
know,
times.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, but most wrestling fans, and also even if you didn't even think of his singles work, his run with Harlem Heat,
Yeah.
one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you have to establish him. So yeah, kind of a it's kind of a mixed bag there. Like only on a few
And
occasions the King of the Ring really being
and
a
then
rocket ship.
beyond that, it's just Wade Barrett and what's his name? The
Corbin and guys
Corbin,
like
yeah.
that, yeah. Well, its modern use is just kind of stupid. Like it's not like it's put on Raw. It's not
Yeah.
it's not an actual standalone pay-per-view.
And I don't understand why you wouldn't do that anymore
Mhm.
as a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
These matches, they don't gotta go 20 minutes. Put them out there, do
Well,
an eight-man tournament.
supposedly Vince hates tournaments. So, go
Well,
figure. I don't I like the idea. I mean, I think if done right, it's a great way to build somebody.
yeah.
Even if you have like a scrappy guy coming through and loses at the final part, but puts on a heck of a performance. You can make somebody a star by having them lose. I mean,
Yes, for sure.
it can happen. I mean, think about what Taker did with Jeff Hardy.
Yep.
Uh, Heck, Austin losing to Bret Hart.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
so it can be done. I mean, I think it gives you the chance to build guys and also build them organically. I mean, the closest we had was really Kofi Mania a couple years ago,
Mhm.
where just the fans said, "This is the guy we want,"
Yep.
and it happened with a gauntlet match. Like,
Yeah.
so, the same dynamic of a gauntlet match you can apply to a King of the Ring. You take a guy like Kofi and have him score the upset in the first round and then work his way through. And all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, this could happen. And
So, that was actually one of the things, and I don't remember which one of the episodes it was. I mean, it was probably the last time Meltzer was on Cornette's show, but they were talking about like, well, you can't let the fans dictate who the guy you push is, and it's like, yeah, you do. That's how it's always been.
Mhm.
You're telling me in 1980 in Memphis that if you ran Jerry Lawler out against wrestler X that you thought was going to be the king of the world, and they
Mhm.
only sold 4,000 tickets, well, you're not bringing that back next week.
Yeah. Well,
There's no way. And the same thing, if you've got somebody that's in there wrestling and they're selling out 10, 15,000 seats a week, which I mean, you're not selling out 15,000 in Mid South Coliseum, but you get what I'm saying. If this is somebody that's selling out your buildings every week, well, you're going to run it till it's dry.
yeah.
I mean, that's how it's always been.
Well, and I think too, in that era, if guys were getting mega levels of heat, we're going to at least see how he does the top baby face here. If it
Yeah.
fails, it fails, but we're going to give it a shot. Like,
Yeah. We're going to do it once.
and I think the problem is now guys are scripted. They're so focused. They don't have any ability to improvise. And
Right.
also, I think, when you go into NXT, let's say, even you get guys in NXT might have never even worked the independents.
Yeah.
Say you're a college football player, you just get signed after your playing career is done. You
Yeah.
go into the performance center, you're being formulated the way that WWE wants you.
You're just a spoke in the wheel.
Yeah, you never get the chance to figure out how to actually get over with a crowd. And I think that was the advantage of the territory days. You can't overstay your welcome to the territories because it would get
Did
stale. You then had to go somewhere else and get over there, and different crowds had different things they liked. So it made you more of a well-rounded performer
yeah.
than what you have today.
Did did you see CM Punk's comments about Pat McAfee?
Yes. Yeah.
That's exactly what we're saying.
Mhm.
If you haven't seen it, those listening out there, CM Punk was like, these guys on NXT should be embarrassed
Yeah.
that
Oh,
this
yeah.
freaking football player
Mhm.
is coming in here and he's the best promo on this whole show.
And he's
This
a
guy,
punter.
yeah, this guy's not even a wrestler. And
Yeah.
he's the best promo on this whole show. What are you guys doing? Well, the truth is it's not what are the guys doing, it's what are the script writers doing.
Mhm.
And I think that's the whole problem of it.
Mhm.
Y- you
Well, and I
know,
think too, I mean, as somebody that talks for a living, I work much better off the top of my head than I do with a script
Oh yeah,
because you get so focused on the script that you don't think about actually what your objective is. It's getting the script right. And I think,
yeah,
basically in the old days, it's all right, you've got 2 minutes. This is what we need you to get over. It's up to you.
yeah. I
And
mean,
I mean, do you think they handed Flair a script in the 80s?
he just threw it in the garbage can.
Yeah. Flair honestly would just go out and talk about what he either did the night before or what he intends to do that night. And by the
Yeah,
way, there's gonna be a wrestling match in the middle.
and so that's the thing that that's one of the things I've always wondered. It, why does nobody just go out there and say, "Hey, man, if you're going to give me a live mic, I'm saying what I want to say, and if you want to fire me,
Mhm.
then whatever." But you know, because
Well, you
the
think
whole
about
thing with Moxley when he did the interview and they were talking about the pooper scooper thing.
yeah.
Why fight it? Why fight it? Why not just get out there on live TV? Are they going to pull the plug on Monday Night Raw if
Mhm.
you decide to just go your own way?
Mhm.
And if they
Well,
do, they're going
you
to
know what will
explain the
happen?
whole
You'll
thing to
get fired.
everybody.
You'll get fired and you'll be the most in-demand guy on the independent scene.
Yeah, and if you were to pull the plug in the middle of somebody's promo that's legitimately going, well, we know how that goes because they did it to Punk,
Yeah.
and that was even part of the plan where they cut him off and he just was like, "I've been silenced," yelling to the crowd, and then the next week he was on fire.
Well, and what's amazing, the pipe bomb promo, I don't know how well that would have worked in the Attitude Era. It would have just been another guy basically doing a worked shoot on the
Oh
air.
yeah, no, it would
But
have.
in this modern era, it was so groundbreaking because it wasn't
You don't
scripted.
hear that anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, even Austin. Do you think they gave Austin a script or The Rock a script
No.
or Foley? I mean, they probably told him, "This is what I want you to do. Figure it out." And
Well, we know what happened when they tried to give Austin sort of a script that he didn't
Mhm.
want. He left.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand it, especially the guys that are main event talents.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, okay, yeah, somebody it's in the middle of the card. Maybe you take your money and do whatever.
Mhm.
Zack Ryder, he cashed a lot of checks for a long time,
Mhm.
and
But there was a guy that got over outside of WWE
and
channels,
they completely sabotaged him.
and Rusev, you know, there's a lot of these guys, if you get over outside of who they want over, but to me, if it's about selling tickets and putting butts in seats and getting viewers, I don't care who's doing it, as long as they're the guy doing it,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know? I mean, whether it's gonna be Daniel Bryan that leads your company or it's gonna be Roman Reigns, whoever gets over, gets over.
Yeah.
And I kinda hoped that would sort of be what we might have seen in AEW. We don't really even see it there. I mean,
No,
AEW still does the hokey crap that we see today. Um,
they do stuff there that is dumber than
yeah.
anything Vince has ever done.
Mhm.
And I don't understand the appeal of it.
Mm-mm.
I honest to God gave them a chance. I probably watched the
Yeah.
first 5 episodes,
Mhm.
however long it took for them to bring out Jungle Boy with the stupidest name ever. I'll get to that in a minute.
Mhm.
However long it took them to bring out Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt against the Lucha Brothers,
Mhm.
when I saw that match and it lasted more than 30 seconds,
Mhm.
I said, "Nope, I'm finished.
Mhm.
I'm done. This is no." They've done exactly what I knew they were going to do when they didn't spend however much money it took to get CM Punk.
Yeah. Mhm.
They could have made $100 million off of him in one night.
Mhm.
And somebody posted online, it's like, well, why would you pay him that much? It distorts the pay scale. No, it doesn't. It
Mm-mm.
doesn't distort any pay scale. It does not distort the boxing pay scale that Floyd Mayweather got paid $300 million to fight Conor McGregor.
Mhm.
Because guess what? If Cody or Matt Jackson or any of them wants to say something, well, I'm not getting paid as much as him. Guess what, pal? You're not worth as much as him.
Go out and get as over as he did.
Maybe over the course of 5 years, you may be worth more. And I could foresee that. But that's not what you bring Punk in for.
Well,
You bring him in for one night in
mhm,
Chicago. You sell out Soldier Field,
mhm,
and you do 500,000 pay-per-view buys to see him wrestle Kenny Omega
mhm,
or Okada, because at that point in time, Omega probably could have sold that number to see him
mhm.
wrestle Punk. And then you just, instead of just having it be a one-shot payment, you just spread his $50 million or whatever you're giving him over the course of 3 or 4 years.
And you know what's interesting? I mean, some of the people they have there, I mean, you got guys like Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone. They come from an era of basically old school Southern wrestling.
They're not listening to those guys.
But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, to me, I hate to say it, Arn Anderson's put a lot more butts in seats than any of the top guys
Than
in AEW
anybody.
right now, outside of Jericho. You
Well,
know,
yeah, yeah. Other
I
than
mean,
And Sting
and
now,
Sting,
whatever Sting's doing.
but I mean, like they, I think that's where it's funny. People try to reinvent the wheel of pro wrestling, and you don't really need to reinvent the wheel.
No,
It kind of works. Like it has worked timelessly from heck the advent of television to now.
yeah, and see, this is the whole thing. Is everybody's like, well, people watch television different? No, they don't. Listen, Game of Thrones was doing 12 to 15 million viewers a week on HBO.
Mhm.
You know why? Because you gave somebody something that they can't miss.
Mhm.
It hasn't changed the habits of football viewing.
No.
Football's doing 30 million viewers a week, or I mean, they were. Everything's down now. But Sunday Night Football was doing 30 million viewers a week.
Mhm.
Don't tell me that wrestling can't do what it did 20 years ago.
You know
It's
what?
not doing what it did 20 years ago because you're not giving anything anybody wants to see.
And also, I mean, people say, well, standards were different there. Talent finds a way.
Yeah.
Every talented entertainer, I Love Lucy. Would Lucille Ball be able to get over today? Probably not doing what she did in the 50s and 60s, but she was probably talented enough to figure out how to adapt.
Yeah.
You adapt to your time and to your culture. And I mean, you're telling me some of these guys, I don't know. I mean, I think what you have in terms of ring work, you have never had better rosters than what you have right now in terms of ability to just go in the ring.
But, and
But the outside of it, there is no entertainment factor. There's
part of
nobody
the
right
problem with the
now.
thing in the ring is that they want to have these huge matches.
Yeah.
No, somebody sometimes just needs to get beat up.
And you need to tell a story however you're doing it. I mean, I get hitting your high spots, that's great, but tell me a story. That's what wrestling has driven off of. Never has think of the top programs in wrestling history. Were any of them based about quality of match alone?
No,
No.
no.
It helps. You can't have a hot program and have guys who just can't work in the ring. Well, hell, Hogan and Andre proved it.
Well, so that's the thing. Hogan knew how to work.
Mhm,
I think Hogan could have done a lot more than we saw him
mhm,
do. And I think had he gone to Memphis or somewhere like that,
mhm.
he probably would have. But, you know, he's admitted, yeah, man, I worked really safe because
There's something to be said for that.
if if I got hurt, it wasn't just me. That was me out of money, but that was everybody else on those cards out of money because I was the guy.
Yeah.
And that's something that nobody now cares about because there's nobody getting everybody's on guarantees. So they don't care
Yeah.
if they go out and get mangled and everything else. Just go do whatever you're doing, and you're on your guarantee, and it's not going to hurt Vince's bottom line because there's no there is nobody that they can bring in. Not even The Rock.
Mm-mm.
Not even The Rock can really move the numbers. I mean, maybe he, five,
They'll do
five,
it
six
for a
hundred
night. They'll
thousand,
do
but
it for a night or two, but he's not going to do it long term.
no,
And I mean, I think it was funny. AEW, I think, was hoping to find all of these like WCW fans who have been out in the wilderness for the last 20 years. So they're going to come back. You know what? Honestly, if I was AEW, I would watch classic Mid South, classic Mid Atlantic, classic NWA, early WCW.
yeah,
And I'd go, let's find a way to give this vibe today. You
yeah,
know, I mean, and heck, I love what NWA did with the studio wrestling. I thought that was awesome.
yeah,
And they made studio wrestling work in 2019, 2020.
yeah,
You can do it if you have the right talented people. And I think they're right now WWE's biggest thing is it's the brand they put over. It's not the individuals.
no, there's no individuals there.
And I mean, they've always had, when Bruno hung it up, they were looking for the next Bruno. Well, they got Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
Then they try to find the next Hulk Hogan. You don't. The closest you get to that, I mean, Macho had a decent run, but he's not Hogan level. The Warrior was a flop. You don't really get your next guy until Austin.
Steve Austin.
Then you get The Rock. I mean, they kind of lucked out getting Austin and The Rock. Very rarely they get like two top end guys
Yeah,
of that ability. But then, after The Rock leaves, they have Cena, and Cena's not a bad hand.
so
Cena's
now
not. I mean, I appreciate John Cena a lot more now than I probably did watching.
you
At
think
least
about
Cena can
this.
tell a story.
I don't think Cena and Batista were ever meant to get to the point that they did
Mm-mm.
because they came up in 2002. Cena, Brock, Randy Orton, and Batista all came up in 2002. Obviously, Brock Lesnar came out, and you can see he was the one that was supposed to be the star.
Oh
Him
yeah,
and Randy Orton. It was not supposed to be Batista coming out as Deacon Batista,
yeah.
and John Cena coming out as this white rapper.
Mhm.
Like those two guys were not supposed to get over like they did. But then Austin leaves, he
Mhm.
retires.
He's
Rock
heading to
leaves.
Hollywood.
Rock leaves to go make movies. Brock Lesnar decides he's going to go do whatever he did.
And Angle has issues with drugs at the time.
Yeah, and so you end up with this huge void in the main event, and well, here's John Cena and Batista. So let's see what we can do. Um, I think had you not had so many people leave, it would have been it would have been different because I mean, certainly The Rock had at least 10 more years in the main
Oh,
event.
oh yeah.
Um, I mean, he would have still been in the main event at WrestleMania 27
Mhm.
one way or another because he would have still been going had
Mhm.
he not gone to make movies.
And I mean, I think to me, I've often wondered, Vince has seen in modern times, even Cena kind of left to go to Hollywood, you
Yeah, but
know,
he did it much later than
much
The Rock
later. But I
did.
mean, when you look at your next big things like Lesnar, he just doesn't like the wrestling lifestyle
Yeah,
and he likes the money. So when he came time to be able to get the money and the lifestyle he wants, yeah, he's there for you.
yeah,
But I think Vince, I wonder if subconsciously he has this worry that if I create this ultra mega star, they're just going to leave. Hollywood will come to them. Heck, doing movies is a lot easier than taking bumps 300 nights a week. I mean,
Yeah,
I can
and
make
a
a
lot of
lot more
that
money,
has
I
to
can do
do
a
with
lot longer.
a lot of that has to do with the money that Vince is willing to pay him.
Yeah, and
Because I'm just saying, if The Rock was getting money like, let's say Alex Rodriguez, because that's a timely reference. Because I mean, it's the same time period. I mean, 2000 was when
Mhm.
A Rod got the 250 mil, right?
Yeah, around there, yeah.
I tell you what, if you'd have signed The Rock 10 years at 250 mil, he
Mhm.
wouldn't have gone to Hollywood.
No.
He'd have stayed right there. And I guarantee you could have made that and more
Mhm.
off of him.
Well, you could have used him while he was still in his prime, and even as he was on that downward descent, you could have used him to make somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, even I would even argue with Hogan, when Hogan loses at WrestleMania 6 to Warrior, Hogan still had gas in the tank,
Oh, yeah.
gas in the system too. Um, so did
Yeah,
Warrior.
he
But
did.
what it was basically saying is that, hey, use Hulk to build the next guy. They're not doing enough of that. And I think there's a lot of things that work in pro wrestling that if they just do them, it's a simple business, really.
But the thing I think now, they stay with guys for so long. How long have people been saying they do not care about Roman Reigns?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, allegedly he's a merchandise mover, but
Yeah. And by all accounts, a really good guy in the locker room, stand-up
yeah.
guy in general.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying he's not a
Yeah, I mean,
good
so
guy.
yeah, no, what I'm saying though is, I mean, I think what they're doing from now with this heel run with Heyman is the most interesting Reigns has ever been in his career.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think once again, if the crowd is booing them, organically steer into it.
Yeah. Yeah, just well,
Turn the guy. I
they
mean,
hate him already.
yeah, and also, you know what? Why does Vince turn heel? Because people were booing him like crazy after the screw job.
Yeah.
You
Brett
know,
screwed Brett.
you didn't try to come out and make to be happy, smiley Vince. No, you turned Vince into the biggest SOB boss ever.
Yep.
And like, it's just, I think you gotta, it's like anything else. People make movies for an audience they think it'll go over with that audience. Nobody says, I'm going to make a movie that I want to make. Forget if anybody shows up to it. I really think that at times with WWE, they're like, you know what, let's just put it out here. If we enjoy it, who cares? The fans
Yeah.
will take what we give them.
Yeah.
And the sad part is AEW knows that. A lot of these guys are disenchanted former employees or former independent contractors
Yeah.
with WWE. I don't want to say employees because that would actually mean they get benefits. But you would think do it differently, and I think they've just missed, I think they've missed the boat on it. And I think
Yeah.
watching an episode like we did for this episode in early 96, seeing how things are going to transition, don't tell me WWE cannot change.
No, and that's what I was going to say about this episode. This episode of Raw that we watched was 1 hour long.
Mhm.
They did more in 1 hour
Mhm.
right here to promote the upcoming WrestleMania,
Mhm.
to promote talent, to promote the future, and everything else.
Mhm.
They had a plug in there for Superstars of Wrestling. That was the tag team promo thing. Hey, we got this tag team program going. You need to watch Superstars of Wrestling on your syndicated channel, which wherever it is. For us, it was USA Network.
Yeah.
So was it Sunday mornings or was it Saturday mornings? I can't remember.
Usually Saturday mornings. Yeah.
So that was Superstars of Wrestling. Hey, we got this thing going over there on Superstars of Wrestling. You need to watch that too.
Mhm.
And oh, by the way, we got some stuff that we're going to stir up next week here because we're going off the air with these guys brawling, and here's Gerald Briscoe out there pulling them apart.
And actually, I think it would be cool. maybe next time we do this, let's watch Raw from this whatever this episode is, the Raw a year later.
Well, what I was gonna say to you is, since we're doing this, let's watch, because there's 3 episodes they taped at the same time. There's this one and
Mhm.
2 more, and then you go to Mania. Why don't let's just watch those through, and then
Yeah.
we'll come back and do. I mean, that would be what 3 more episodes
Mhm.
right there. I'd be fine doing that, because this has me more entertained than definitely anything that's on TV in the
Oh, yeah.
last year.
Well, what does it say that I can't remember the last time I watched an entire pay-per-view all the way through, and I watched all of Starrcade '85 today.
Oh, I
Like, and what's amazing is something that came on when I was 2 years old
hmm
is more entertaining than
absolutely.
any pay-per-view they've put on in recent memory, any organization has put on.
So I will be honest. I watched Hell in a Cell, I
Mhm.
think. I did watch that all the way through, but there's a big however to that. Um, Not to expose too much business here, but at work we have television sets in there,
Mhm.
and so I I signed on to one of the computers with my network sign in, and we put the computer monitor
Mm.
on the TV. So I was working overnight, so we watched Hell in a Cell at work. But that is probably the first pay-per-view I've watched all the way since, well, I didn't watch all of WrestleMania, now
I
that I
didn't
think
watch all
of
of
it.
Mania either.
I was about to say WrestleMania, but I didn't watch all of WrestleMania.
No.
Um, the last time that I can honestly remember watching a pay-per-view all the way through would have been last year's WrestleMania,
Mhm.
because I had 7 hours or however long it went. It
What else
was
do you have going on in your life?
ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, it comes on at 5, and then it went off at midnight or whatever. Of course, that's the time when you had the crowd just go crazy when what's his name? Dash
Mhm.
got in the ring after he knocked out that guy that jumped
Oh,
Bret
yeah.
Hart. That
Yeah.
crowd went crazy. But yeah, other than that, I mean, come on, they're not giving you anything that you just that it's like, man, I gotta see this.
And, and it's not people say, "Oh, just replicate the Attitude Era." You can't replicate the Attitude Era,
No, you can't, because you don't have
and
Vince McMahon.
it
There's
wouldn't work,
nothing.
but I think
There's
you find what works for the culture and time you're in.
people have to believe.
Yeah.
They have to believe in something on the television set, and don't tell me that they can't believe. Bro,
Well, I can
dude, there was people in movie theaters crying when Han Solo got killed.
yeah,
And I'm not giving a spoiler alert here for a movie that's 6 years old.
right.
God, Han Solo got killed in Star Wars. There was people in the movie theater crying, man.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that people can't get invested and believe in television, even if you're
I
not
mean,
keeping kayfabe.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's we all know it's fake. We get that. That's fine. We know it's scripted. But you know what? So's Game of Thrones. So's the
Yeah,
Avengers.
yeah.
Like, that's okay. You know? And I think that's where wrestling at its best tells stories. And when they tell compelling stories, it works. It's not Austin 316 and Stone Cold's run wasn't great because Austin's an all-time great talent, but it wasn't because people want to watch every Stone Cold match. They want to see how that match fits into the story of watching him eventually get his on this guy that we can't stand, McMahon.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we wanted to see. The
Yeah,
match was a way to tell that story.
Austin versus whoever was never
Hmm.
the thing. It was Austin and Vince.
Yeah.
It didn't matter who Vince's, proxy was in the ring. Those two almost never
Yeah.
directly went at it.
Well, I think there's a lot for us to talk about for future episodes. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and actually, I'm getting pretty tired myself. I've got to be up in the morning. So,
That's the truth. Yeah, man.
but,
Well, all
yeah,
right.
I think we should
Got
definitely
any?
come back, watch some more of these episodes. I think also, then let's watch the next year, the equivalent
Yeah,
episode a year later,
to see
and
what
just see how
happened.
much in a year this business has changed.
Yeah.
And maybe actually, you know, it'd be cool. Maybe let's watch some nitros from this time too,
Hmm.
just
Good
to kind of
idea.
just see like the two, you
Yeah.
know, the because I mean it's a cool period because we know what's going to happen later. And
Yeah.
96 wrestling's not there yet. By 97, it's the hottest thing in entertainment.
Yeah.
Like that's remarkable. So
Yeah. All right, fans. With that, we are out. Appreciate you watching, and we will talk to you again next time.